Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Lagos, there lived a beautiful, hardworking woman named Amara. Amara was married to Chijioke, a young and ambitious CEO of a successful tech company. Their love story was the stuff of fairy tales. They had built their life from scratch, supporting each other through the highs and lows, and Amara had stood by Chijioke when his company was still a dream. Their marriage seemed perfect until Chijioke's father suddenly passed away, and his much younger stepmother, Veronica, entered their lives in full force. Veronica was glamorous, sly, and manipulative. Despite her youthful looks and charm, her interest in Chijioke was anything but maternal. From the day of his father's funeral, she had her eyes on him, casting aside all sense of morality. Veronica began slowly sowing seeds of discord between Chijioke and Amara, whispering lies into Chijioke's ears about how Amara wasn't good enough for his elevated status as a CEO and how he deserved someone more sophisticated and modern. Chijioke, blinded by his stepmother's manipulations, began to change. He became distant, cold, and suspicious of Amara, who had no idea what was happening behind the scenes. He started staying out late, coming home drunk, and treating her with disrespect. Amara, confused and heartbroken, tried to salvage her marriage, but Veronica's influence grew stronger every day. Eventually, after months of tension, Chijioke did the unthinkable. He filed for divorce, claiming that Amara was no longer the woman he needed by his side. Amara was devastated. She had given her all to the marriage, sacrificed her own career to help Chijioke build his empire, and this was how it ended. With the divorce finalized, Veronica moved in with Chijioke under the guise of helping him manage his affairs. She played the role of the caring stepmother perfectly, while secretly trying to seduce Chijioke. But the more time Chijioke spent with Veronica, the more uncomfortable he became. He began to realize that the warmth and love he had shared with Amara was irreplaceable, and Veronica's intentions were far from pure. As the months passed, Chijioke's company began to crumble. Without Amara's support and her critical eye for the business, things began to fall apart. Clients started pulling out, employees were leaving, and Chijioke found himself in financial and emotional turmoil. Meanwhile, Amara had slowly rebuilt her life. She had started her own business, and her success had blossomed. She became a force to be reckoned with in the industry, respected and admired by many. One evening, as Chijioke sat alone in his mansion, he realized that everything he had ever wanted was slipping away. He missed Amara. He missed her wisdom, her strength, and most of all, her love. He had been a fool to let her go, and now, he was paying the price. He realized that Veronica had been manipulating him all along, and he had allowed her to destroy the most precious thing in his life, his marriage. In a moment of desperation, Chijioke reached out to Amara. He called her, begged for her forgiveness, and asked if they could meet. Amara, ever the gracious woman, agreed to meet him, but not out of pity. She had grown into a stronger, more independent version of herself and knew her worth. When they met, Chijioke confessed everything, how Veronica had twisted his mind and led him to make the worst mistake of his life. He pleaded with Amara to give him another chance, promising to make things right. But Amara, with a calm and poised demeanor, looked him in the eye and said, "I've forgiven you, Chijioke, but I've also learned to love myself more." As Chijioke's world continued to fall apart, Amara's was just beginning to flourish. She walked away from their meeting with her head held high, leaving Chijioke to face the consequences of his actions. And as for Veronica, once Chijioke cut ties with her, she vanished into thin air, disappearing as quickly as she had come into his life. In the end, Amara found peace and success on her own terms, while Chijioke was left to rebuild his life from the ruins he had created. Some mistakes are too costly to be undone, and Chijioke learned that the hard way. Amara had moved on, stronger and wiser, while Chijioke would forever regret letting her slip away.